Hi everyone, it's Newsroom time from VLGA Connect, and you know what that means. It means Kathryn Arndt, the CEO of the VLGA. Hi Kathryn.
Hi Chris, nice to see you again today. We've already recorded one episode of VLGA Connect earlier in the day, but glad to be catching up again with our regular Newsroom episode.
You're giving too much of the mystery away, Kathryn. I'm sure people just think it's coming to them as they're watching it, that it's live. And
oh, of course, I'm sorry to just burst everyone's bubble about that, but anyway.
So, look, you're riding on a high, and we'll talk about why that is in a moment. There's a bit to get through on the Newsroom today, and I know people do like this recap of things that have happened around the sector. And the high I'm talking about is the HART Awards last Friday, which on the downside, it couldn't happen in person, obviously, but on the upside, it was a lovely virtual event, I thought.
Look, it was, Chris. You're entirely correct. An hour and a half of just a wonderful experience for all of the finalists, all of the participants. We had a First Nations entertainer with us, and it was just a lovely event. And of course, I'm very pleased to announce, for those who haven't caught up on it, the winners of the local government category award were Glen Eira City Council. So congratulations to Glen Eira. The community category went to our Songlines, and the schools and early years went to the Yulee Park Community College. And for the first time this year, there were two special extra awards, notable awards, the acknowledgement for champions of reconciliation that went to the Torch, and also the Aboriginal Remembrance Committee. So we have a lovely video of the ceremony, which I think should be up and out and available as we speak. And is certainly worth watching. And we thank the Minister for Local Government for his attendance, and also Sheena Watt, the member for the Northern Metro region, who attended also.
Yes, I was going to say you had some great presenters, and to have the Minister, particularly for local government, presenting those awards, and Sheena Watt was great. So well done to everyone. Of course, I know it's been 8 years that you've been working with Reconciliation Victoria on this, and the support from the state government has been rock solid that whole time. So terrific credit to everyone involved.
Thank you, Chris. And it is, we do these awards with support from Local Government Victoria and also Bank Australia, and we thank them for their ongoing support. Some of our viewers may not be aware that the HART Awards is a joint initiative of Reconciliation Victoria and the VLGA, and is also one of the action items in the Victorian Aboriginal Local Government Action Plan, or VLGAP as it's known.
So check out that video on YouTube if you haven't already. Let's have a look at what's coming up, because your focus is on the return of leading the agenda. I guess, it's Friday 9th of July. I guess we're hoping it'll be an in-person event. What's your feeling on that at the moment? Wait and see.
Look, I think we would all hope that it is, and that is a really interesting topic on audit and risk committees, and we've got a great panel of speakers lined up there. We have Mark Dupay, who is the CEO of Baw Baw Shire Council, Katie Baldwin, who's a member of the Audit and Risk Committee of Monash City Council, but also Head of Internal Audit at the CSIRO, Richard Wilson, who's a Risk Advisory Partner at Pitcher Partners, will also be on that panel. Now, of course, if we are unable to have that panel as a live event, we certainly can just pivot, as we've done, and conduct that over our normal Zoom broadcast channel.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to helping you with that one. Those leading the agenda days are always really useful, I think, for the people who participate. So if you haven't booked yourself in, get in case you run the risk of missing out.
That's right, and registration details went out just in the last hour or so. Not that people know what time we're recording this, but today, check your inboxes. And Chris, I was remiss in acknowledging your role as the moderator for that panel. And we, of course, look forward to having you work with us with our Leading the Agenda series.
That will be my pleasure. Now, speaking of things that we've had a pleasure in doing, you and I got to spend some time with the new Chief Municipal Inspector in Victoria. Hi, Louis, I can hear you. And Michael Stefanovic has been in the role 7 weeks, and it was really great to hear about what he's been doing so far and what he will be doing in the coming period.
Look, it was a great interview, and it was nice to meet Michael and have him talk about his background, what he brings to the role, I guess, and also some of his very early observations. He has a strong investigative background, working across multiple different agencies, and although in I guess outlining that strong investigative background, he was also very conscious and supportive of the role that the Inspectorate has in the preventative and education functions. So it was pleasing to hear how he looks at approaching this role, and also the work of the Inspectorate. And again, that pre-recorded interview is now available for people to have a look at.
Episode 179, can you believe it, of VLGA Connect. This very one we're on is episode 180.
That is a terrific milestone, isn't it? I just sometimes can't keep up myself with the content of all of the interviews we've conducted, but we've got a great library there now for people to go back and look at any time.
We better start planning our celebration for episode 200.
Yes, indeed.
Just before we get off the interview with Michael Stefanovic, we did talk about the statistics that the Inspectorate recently released with regard to the complaints that they received during the election campaign last year. They more than doubled on the previous election, which I think has got a lot to do with the prevalence now of social media in the way election campaigns happen. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, look, I agree. And when we talked a little bit about that with Michael, and I think I also mentioned the Electoral Matters Joint Committee of Parliament that did conduct or call for submissions into a review of the use of social media in elections. I checked the parliamentary website before we got on air today, Chris, and though I guess the response of that committee should be coming any day now. I believe they have 6 months to respond to those sorts of inquiries. So really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that electoral committee, or Electoral Matters Committee review or inquiry. Originally, its scope didn't extend to local government elections, but with some advocacy from the VLGA and other organisations, the chair of that committee accepted submissions from and in regard to local government, which of course is really important, and we've seen this evidence here. With those stats that you just quoted, that the Inspectorate have identified during the local government elections.
Will be interesting to see the report that comes from that process, absolutely. A couple of news items perhaps worth mentioning now, Kathryn, before we wrap up. One of the peaks in one of the other states, in Queensland, has announced a new CEO. I'm not sure if you've worked with Alison Smith, who's the head of advocacy there at Local Government Association Queensland, but they've announced that she'll be taking over as CEO later in the year.
And that's a big appointment because, of course, Greg Hallam was there for many, many years. I had met and spoken to Greg a couple of times, and we welcome Alison to the role. I haven't met Alison, but certainly look forward to catching up with her in the future.
Greg's been in that role for nearly 3 decades, I understand, and is retiring this year. I think it's an example of a very orderly transition, Kathryn, because Alison doesn't take over until November, but it's been announced this week.
Wow, okay, then welcome, Alison.
The other story that caught my eye that I thought you would be interested in is an announcement this week from the Victorian Aboriginal Heritage Council, which has taken a major step in determining a formally recognised traditional owner group for the Melbourne CBD and 24 local councils. We know these are complex discussions where you've got different traditional owner groups and a lot of history, a lot of heritage attached to country. So this is, I think, a major milestone if they manage to achieve this determination.
Yeah, look, I did see that. I think there was a media release that came out of the Premier's office, if I recall correctly. Perhaps we could share that with this episode of Newsroom for our viewers.
We'll do that. So the proposal is to vary the boundaries of the Bunurong Land Council, Aboriginal Council, and the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation. And I think it's really fascinating to read the story behind where those traditional owner groups are attached to country, and it's a lot about saltwater and freshwater, which was something that that I didn't know and really appreciated learning.
Yes, well, look, I still have to catch up on all of the details behind that, but look forward to hearing more. And I think it's perhaps you know, the first of many things we'll see coming out of the work of the First Peoples Assembly, also you know, the making of treaty and treaties, and the journey that the state of Victoria will be taking through, and I guess over the coming months and years.
Now, Kathryn, a question without notice. On Friday, we recorded a different governance update, Stephen Cooper and I. We went out on a limb and thought we're going to do a top 10 because there's so much movement at CEO level in councils in Victoria. We thought we'd do what we hope might be a useful resource for councillors. Have you caught up with it?
I have. I caught up with that on Saturday, of course, completely unaware and oblivious to what
we've done.
Yes, what you'd done. And I thought, well, thank goodness Chris and Steve just, you know that I'm pretty relaxed and let them operate autonomously, because it did make me smile. But also I thought, well, what a fantastic idea. And I thought it came across really well and was able to capture in very a pointed way, so to speak,
yeah.
You know, the top 10 tips of working for councillors working with CEOs. And we know that this is just something that's talked about so often, and we saw it mentioned in the recent review that came, I think, that Kingston had initiated. And one of the recommendations from that review was improving the relationship between the executive or officers and councillors, and of course the CEOs included in that. So I think that was great. Have we had many comments coming in about it, Chris?
We've had one or two, and we're going to put them together for a mailbag segment on the next governance update. So I might just hold those close just for the moment. We've had some interesting reaction and some very positive reaction.
Right. Well, look, I won't preempt the next governance update. I'll find out about it afterwards, I'm sure. And I haven't had anyone phoning me to, you know, voice any complaints. So I think we're on the right track there.
Thanks, Kathryn. I'm very pleased to hear that. And I want to pay tribute to our stellar editor, John Lloyd Fillingham, who went above and beyond for that particular episode, including putting in a fanfare where I called for it. And that's attracted a little bit of comment as well. But thank you to JLF, as we call it.
Thank you, JLF. You always go above and beyond, and we appreciate you.
Kathryn, thank you. Coming up, other than our usual programs, we have our panel of chair administrators discussion on, I think we're recording this Thursday week, the 18th. So Nolene Duff, Lydia Wilson, Julie Eisenbeiss, and I think you might be going to try and join us for that.
That's right. Yes, looking forward to that. We'll find out all about the role of an administrator, what they can and cannot do versus what a councillor can and cannot do.
That will be a very interesting discussion. And looking a little further ahead, we've locked in the Victorian Responsible Gambling Foundation for a discussion about their work. And when we get into July, there's a global CEO panel coming up on the topic of child-friendly cities.
And looking at initiatives that some councils around the globe, in particular, I think interstate and also in the UK, as well as in Victoria. And we have an academic, I believe, or researcher on that panel as well, talking about the impact of COVID on children and young people and some of the strategies that municipalities have put in place to address those.
Lots to look forward to coming up from VLGA Connect. Kathryn, thank you for our regular update from the newsroom. I hope you have a great week. Hopefully we'll have some easing of restrictions later in the week, and you can perhaps venture a little bit further than you've been able to of late.
Look, fingers crossed. I think it does get a little harder, doesn't it, for all of us each lockdown, but they're also important to keep everyone safe, and hopefully you're faring well also. And apologies for Louis making a guest appearance in today's program, but anyway, the joys of working remotely.
He's always welcome. Thank you, Kathryn. Talk to you again soon. That's the Newsroom from VLGA Connect. Thanks for your company, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.